Hello, everyone. Welcome to Laugh and Learn, where curiosity leads and laughter lifts. I'm Gerald, joined today by Linda de Gonzalez, Maru, and Timy from Raven Tarot Meditation. We are continuing our exploring of duality pairs. Pair 4, the Chariot and Justice, and how direction meets balance, motion meets fairness, and willpower meets wisdom. With that in mind, let's get this crew on. Welcome, Maru. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome, Linda.
Hi.
Welcome, Timy. Oop,
Hello.
got us backwards. I'm moving us around, everybody.
Yep. Got to get our balance.
Got to get some balance. I am thrilled to have everyone here joining us. All of the links to our channels are below. Please take some time, show your support. Buy Timy's album.
Yeah.
Buy Linda. Well, get a reading from Linda. Maru's got tools, wish list. I've got donation stuff. Do what you're comfortable with. Don't
forget tarot merch.
Tarot merch, yes.
TarotStache merch.
I'm wearing this because this is going to be a discontinued because there is a misspelling there. Ooh. So if you are a collector,
rare,
weird and odd stuff, this one's going to be it, because once it's gone,
that's a rare.
I'm not redoing it.
And also, the mug that has that, it also has the misspelling. So the mugs are probably going to be discontinued. So if you don't want a sweatshirt, get a mug.
Buy now, pay later.
The story of my life.
That's been my philosophy since I became an adult.
Yeah. Pay later. Well, I have to do this. I have to hold up the Welcome to the Laugh and Learn Duality Pairs. I have actually created a Duality Pairs playlist. We have arrived, kids.
There's enough episodes.
There's enough episodes. It is also an opportunity for you to listen to them as a podcast, if you so choose.
Nice.
That's fancy.
That's provided to you at no charge, by the way.
Provided to you at no charge, blah, 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 blah. Please remember, this is for entertainment purposes only. Do not make decisions based upon what we say. Seek professional assistance. Really. Like and subscribe. It's free. One of these days, I'm going to have to replace these cards and make new ones.
Why?
It's charming.
What was that, Maru?
So they're getting a little worn.
They are getting a little warm.
Maybe fresh ones, yeah. But I like the technique, like lifting it up in front of the camera.
It was completely out of necessity. Last time we were here, we talked about Duality Pair 3, which was the Hierophant and the Lovers, which was, I'm going to do this. Hold on. I'm going to put that like that. It was this. It was Hierophant and Lovers, community bonds and intimate bonds. Maru had some thoughts that she had wished she said. You want to bring those up now, Maru?
Sure. So I wanted to clarify. I had said during that show that you can't help who you fall in love with, which is true. You can't necessarily help who you're attracted to, but you do get to choose who you want to share a relationship with. So I just wanted to make that, dichotomy clear. Yeah. And also, I wanted to caution not crossing the Hierophant with the Lovers, because that's how Hierophants get in trouble, by abusing their power and moving it into the intimate relationship rather than the community relationship.
Oh, interesting
Well, that's it. Yeah, that is interesting.
And
You're
I also
the
wanted
leader.
to mention the similarity to the prana mudra of that, the sign, this thing,
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
the blessing.
the blessing. Yeah.
Benediction.
Hmm.
Does that happen every time you put your fingers up like that, Gerald?
Usually.
When balloons happen? Yep. It's the higher power at work.
Okay, so that is the what mudra?
Prana.
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 Thank you. We have got amazing people who are watching. I would like to say hello to people. This is not what I wanted to put up there. I am looking at all of the amazing people. Jax was here. Linda de Gonzalez is here. Brenda is here. Red Dragon. River. Peace is here. Dolores has joined us. River. And Lulu. Hello. Kim B has arrived. So this is wonderful. Thank you for everybody for watching. We were given a challenge, weren't we? We were given a challenge. Pamela Batchelor has challenged us this episode. She said, I'd love to see what it sounds like to hear the words masculine and feminine reversed. Every time we say the word masculine, we say feminine and vice versa. I'd love to hear what that sounds like. So we're mixing this up in case you're wondering.
Quite a challenge.
It is a challenge. It's one that's worthwhile, I think.
Break out of old habits.
Yes. Old habits, yes, are not necessarily a good thing.
Make us pay attention.
Yes.
Yeah. Keep our minds nimble.
Free Spirits is here. Ascending Universal Butterfly. It is the menopause. Timmy, how has this been for you overall before we dive into Duality Pair number 4?
How has this been the show today?
Yes.
You have to be I'm like a robot. You have to specify.
It's like talking to ChatGPT.
Yeah. Unspecified.
How has this experience been for you, and what are you taking away from it?
It's been a great experience. I didn't know if I could make it happen, if I could manifest into reality, becoming friends with the tarot community on YouTube. But I gave it a shot, and it worked out, and it's benefiting me with this book that I'm writing. I had the instinct that I needed some help. I needed people that were knowledgeable about the tarot to listen to my ideas and my interpretation and see if it has any validity or not. And you can help me out. And, you haven't agreed with everything that I've said, but a lot of it we have, parallel thoughts. So it's been a net positive for sure.
I agree. Yes.
Validation is always good.
Yes.
Yeah. And compromising, like Pamela's challenge, like flip things on its top in an experimental way, just to see, if you can come up with a better explanation with a greater, deeper truth in things,
Yes. More people are coming in. I appreciate everyone being here. It's great to have you here. I have to say, one of the great things for me in hosting this is to see the exchange of ideas, how enlightening it is. So this is just delightful.
And it dispels fear. People are afraid to talk about things that they have in their head, and you shouldn't be afraid to talk about things that are in your head. You might be wrong, you might be right, it might be somewhere in the middle, which is usually what happens, but it's worth it to engage with people. Don't isolate.
I agree. Speaking of not isolating, we are moving into pair 4, which is the Chariot and Justice. physical influence and intellectual influence. We have, would you like me to do the overlay now, Timy? Or
Yeah, could you read it? And we could look at the summary and we can start there.
okay, I will do that. I'm going to take this off. The fourth duality, assertiveness, and its influence can be exerted through physical strength or intellectual persuasion. The Chariot represents physical coercion and determination. Justice embodies intellectual coercion through truth, logic, and fairness. Assertiveness involves both raw power and strategic ethical influence. Please remember, we are looking at the Tarot de Marseille, where the strength, or where card number 8 is justice. So
Rather than strength. Yeah.
Rather than strength, yes.
And RWS, there it's flipped. This was the original 500 years ago, and then at the turn of the century, the Golden Dawn switched it for their own reasons.
So what would you like to add about this? And do you want me to keep this up, or do you want me to
we can go back to our faces? So the point of the duality is that when you combine the two cards together, it illustrates assertiveness. And it's suggested in the structure of the interpretation that the path of balance is in between those two cards. For proper assertiveness in your life, you need to be nimble. You need to be able to assert yourself physically in the style of the Chariot, and you need to be able to assert yourself intellectually in the style of the Justice card. And what it's not saying is you should lean hard in either direction. I mean, most of us, when we don't have a balanced behavior, we lean heavily in one side to the other. And a balanced life, a prosperous, happy life, is someone who can do both. And that's the challenge. And that's the challenge for each of the 10 dualities, to find the balance point in the middle. That's what they're illustrating. They're not illustrating advocacy of one extreme or the other. What it's illustrating is that balance point between the two is the desired place to be. So this is the fourth duality, and this is assertiveness.
I have an example from my personal life.
Please.
Of the duality. My younger sister was about 4, nearly 5 years younger than my older sister, and I were only a year apart. So when my older sister and I could intellectually argue a situation, my younger sister was not able to keep up with us, so she would resort to physical assertion.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we all come from a different background, different cultures, different places, but this concept applies to everyone. And the fact that you can lay it out on the table and do card reads on it is valuable to me. It's a way of organizing my own behavior, following the structure and the example of this Marseille Tarot and the duality interpretation using the 10 primal dualities. This fourth one is sort of part of a group. The third, the fourth, the sixth, and the seventh are those 4 in the middle. And those are the ones that we deal with every single day. The other ones are a little more structural and esoteric. The 2 at the top, the 8th and the 9th, insight and self-awareness. Those are sort of cumulative dualities, cumulative of information, cumulative of your life experience. And then the 2 at the bottom, the first and the second, were your master volumes for your receptive energy and your expressive energy. And now we're in the middle. The 4 in the middle is where all the daily life happens, your relationships and your assertiveness.
These 4 in the middle.
The 4 in the middle, the big ones.
assertiveness, motivation, and decisions.
Right. So that's whenever I do self card reads, they almost always fall into an imbalance of one of these four dualities. My relationships, we are fraught with challenges. Assertiveness, making choices, like Maru was saying, her younger sister would make the choice of physical assertiveness when it was inappropriate. Being aware that there's two ways to assert yourself. There's not just one way. And also being aware that you need to have skills in both. You need to be willing to stand up for yourself and speak, your point of view, and, if needed to be, get a little physical about it. That has to be one of your tools available to you, right? And then as well, and preferable, if you're following a spiritual path, is coercion via a logical argument, presenting your case, presenting facts, assert yourself that way. That's the justice card. And
persuasion would be better than coercion in that instance.
Say that again, Maru.
Persuasion is a better choice of word than coercion in the intellectual.
Oh, okay.
Can we go back to that? Because I could, let me see that again.
Yeah.
Is that in the summary? Is that written in the summary?
Coercion, yeah. So persuasion.
Physical coercion. Yeah, well, coercion, I think, is, it's physical coercion. And that's really what it is. Let's be honest with it. It's
physical strength or intellectual persuasion.
Mm-hmm.
You said it yourself.
He is going to listen to the playback. So.
Okay, so let's summarize your point one more time, Maru. Let me hear it again.
I would say, just as far as verbal accuracy, the physical would be coercion and the intellectual would be persuasion.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I agree with that. Yeah. So I'll make that consistent. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Because really, physical coercion is what it is. It's hitting somebody on the head with a rock. I mean, it's primitive
force to make things happen.
It's biological. And then, strength is the intellectual tactic, using your brain to convince people, to persuade people. Yeah. And that's accurate. It's persuasion. It's not coercion. And that's the difference between the two. But I think history tells, gives us the lesson that you need to have the ability to do both. And that's the whole point of the whole duality interpretation, is the balance point in between the extremes.
It is this whole thing about duality and duality pairs. You need a balance of the two energies. When you are out of balance, difficulties arise. I think when I look at this, the Chariot for me is, I always see the Chariot as physical movement. I also see the Chariot as needing to, the charioteer has to actually hold on to the reins for those horses to make sure that the horses or whatever is pulling the chariot stay focused. When an individual is, or the charioteer is not paying attention, holding the reins appropriately, one's going to go one way, one's going to go the other. The chariot is not going to move at all. It's going to create a lot of difficulty.
It's chaotic energy that's hard to keep reined in.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The point of wisdom is knowing which to choose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a difficult thing. And there's also the fact that this duality is one of the expressive dualities. So it's expressive energy, it's outward flowing energy rather than receptive inward flowing energy. So this is where the rubber meets the road, right? Where you've you've gone through the expressive energy side, and you've considered your relationships, and you considered your motivation for whatever it is you're considering, and you've thought about, you know, who you are and what you are, and whether it's appropriate for you to take any kind of an action. And then you look at your insight regarding things, and now you're becoming on the expressive energy side. You're looking at your past experiences, and things that you've learned are true and things that you learned are not true. And then you make a decision, and then you assert yourself. You assert that decision and manifest it into the world. And, you know, that's expressive energy. Assertiveness is expressive energy. And there's a biological component to it. There's the feminine side, which is the Justice card. And then there's the masculine side, which is the Chariot card. Or is it the feminine side is the Chariot card and the Justice side is the masculine card? Well, I would argue that, as Maru said 2 episodes ago, spiritual energy is androgynous, and we are androgynous spirits living in a biological body that could be masculine or feminine or masculine. But the point is, as androgynous spiritual entities, we do both. We're capable of both. And it depends upon, in my opinion, the reincarnation is part of this situation. And we can be reincarnated into any biological sexuality. We need to be able to do both. And we learn to do both in past lives. But in this particular life, you're challenged. You know, you have, on the biological spectrum, you're somewhere in the middle. You're probably not on the extreme side. You know, I guess that would be like a 400-pound super testosterone male on one side, the Chariot, and then, you know, what would the feminine figure look like on the Justice side? You know, I mean, I guess I'm losing my focus here, but the point is,
I feel physically feminine but intellectually masculine.
And you are intellectually masculine as well as being, I mean, feminine, masculine, feminine. You're both. Your androgynous spirit embodies both.
I want to pause here for a moment because Peace has said an empath doesn't normally fight unless need be. We are far more dangerous, especially to narcissistic people. Withdraw your energy makes them crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a perfect advice. Take the energy away. They can't do anything, and suddenly they don't have fuel to the fire. Linda is here. Delphi. Hello. We've got more people. Pamela Batchelor has joined us.
Hello, Pamela.
Linda, we haven't heard from you yet. What are you thinking about this pair, the duality, 4th duality, assertiveness?
I find it hard to see them as anything other than androgynous. I mean, that's just the latest thought that flipped through my head. I don't particularly see, you know, those depictions, Victorian depictions of justice, blind and holding scales and all of that kind of stuff. I never bought that. And also, the function of justice. I'm still thinking about it. I'm sorry. Just go ahead.
You don't have to apologize.
Go ahead. I'm just thinking about what the function of. Oh, because so it's an inward, outward kind of thing, right? The Chariot and Justice.
Well, I think what the
sorry, that's just how I see it. The Chariot, the Chariot is
outward.
The Chariot is the outward manifestation of the inward justification. I don't mean that the way it sounds. I mean, the inward experience of justice leads us to action or not, right?
Mhm.
If justice is a balancing of energies,
Mm-hmm.
I may be totally off the walk here.
I mean, if you think about the fact that chariots are usually used for combat,
Yeah, war.
then justice would demand that combat is justified.
That there is a justification for it. Yeah, to send the chariots out. But it was the internal process. That's it. The internal process of justifying and justification and making justice happen internally to drive that chariot
Mm-hmm.
that won't go unless there is a balance. The two horses. It won't go unless there's a balance of energies, which theoretically, or maybe I should say, in the best of all possible worlds, justice would provide. I got one foot in. I mean, I'm not. I'm having a really hard time expressing myself, and I apologize for that. The the ideas that I'm having, I feel like I'm stepping out somewhere I haven't stepped before, so I have no freaking clue if I'm on the right path or not. This is sorry. Okay, go ahead.
It's working. It's
Can I say
working,
something?
Linda.
Oh, is it? Okay, good. Because
you got to talk it out. You got to think about it.
okay, so I like what Pamela says. A difficult card. Yeah, it is a difficult card for me.
Yes.
Living and learning through the first 6. Justice is a difficult card for me too. The chariot represents a certain maturity attained after living and learning through the first 6 cards of the majors. Absolutely. I agree with you. Justice is a very adult idea. Yeah, and that's probably why I'm having trouble grabbing a hold of it. It's because so yeah, the two of the 2 cards, Justice and the Chariot, are, I believe, intimately tied together. I think that pairing them in a duality is absolutely, like, they are a pair. That's clear to me. Which one functions inward, which one functions outward, I'm not 100% sure, and I'm wondering if maybe they're not bivalent, like if they're not both operating inwardly and outwardly. Because
Well, that's what I was going to bring up, actually.
yeah,
Yes, as we discussed in previous shows, all of the cards have their own individual dualities. And the chariot is not only outward action, but it's also inward protection.
oh,
And the justice is not only interior deliberation, but also pronouncing justice.
yeah, pronouncing judgment. Well, no, that's different. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. Huh.
And the way I would look at it as well is assertiveness is a choice. You can assert yourself 2 ways. There's the intellectual way and there's the physical way. And
Yeah.
the cards are human representations of, images, symbols that we're very familiar with. There's the chariot, the warrior on the chariot who's going to spear somebody, and then there's the judge, the justice judge, weighing facts. So when you want to assert yourself, you have a choice. You can go the intellectual persuasion way, or you can go the physical coercion way. And for a healthy, prosperous, successful path, you must be able to do both. So there's a choice. And as you and Linda, as you were discussing, the choice is a struggle. Do we go intellectual and have a peace treaty, negotiate a peace treaty, or do we go physical and say to hell with it? We're just going to kill them all and let God sort them out,
Bomb
and I would say that the chariot side, which is illustrated pretty clearly, I think, by a male figure. That's commenting on our animal nature, I think, and how for millennia we
Do you mean
when
a
we get
female?
intellectually lazy, we lean on the physical. You know, we lean on the physical coercion.
Yeah, when we don't have anything, upstairs, we rely
If
on.
we're an empty vessel and we don't have any way to justify what
have
we're doing intellectually, we just say we don't like those people and we kill them. You know.
You just said something that made me want to come back to Pamela Batchelor's challenge at the beginning of this.
Oh,
okay?
yes, her challenge.
So what would it look, how would we as readers interpret Chariot differently? If we would, I don't know, if the charioteer were a woman. Well, that's got Wanda in a flap.
I will be the first
She's
one.
got big feelings about this.
She does have big feelings, as she should. I will say the first thing that came to my mind. She would look at a map and figure out which way she's going instead of just starting the chariot going.
Instead of just saying woof whoop.
I said it
It would
there.
more likely be used in a protective manner than a destructive one.
Possibly.
Probably.
Well,
Actually.
You know, if we look at that card image again, I mean, I say it looks male, but you know, it could be there could be some androgyny there on the chariot figure.
Well,
specifically for this one from the Renaissance, the Marseille Tarot.
I did want to mention one other thing as long as we're looking at the picture. They don't have reins. I mean, the guy's not holding them.
Not this one, yeah.
Most
No,
of them
you're
don't.
right.
Maybe
You're
that's
right, Maru.
a statement as well. You know, it's chaotic force that's unreined, you know, and dangerous. No.
I think that the charioteer is the horses are. I think it's a partnership. And all of them know what the brief is. Like, they know what they're supposed to be doing, and they've had this discussion. Never actually moving.
The astute Maru, the chariot is never actually moving. It's very rare. Well, there are decks where you see the chariot moving traditionally in the Marseille.
And the horses are facing in two different directions, so how could it move?
Correct. Yes.
What? They're not, though.
Their heads aren't, but their bodies are.
I've looked into the some of the symbology here. The S and the M in the middle there means something. I knew at one point what that meant. You know, there's some symbols there.
Mind with that.
Yeah, there's some symbols in there that I guess were important back 500 years ago, and you know, still important today. But a lot of them I'm not familiar with. You know, if we have any chariot experts here, they can chime in on any interesting aspects other than the main aspect, which is, I think, that it's physical coercion.
Yeah.
Justice, poetic justice, maybe elements of karma. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Thank you. Very very thought-provoking. We also have, yes, you see it moving in modern decks because it's been said so many times. The chariot.
Like, that just blew my mind, Pamela, what you said. It just blew my mind because it was like, of course the chariot's moving in my head. You know.
Maybe it's just a threat, you know. It's not actually moving toward you, but it's a threat.
But
I feel like it's a decision moment.
Wow.
That's what it is. It's a decision. Do you go intellectual or do you go physical? That's assertiveness.
Or which direction do you go with your physicality? Are you going to go violent, or are you going to go consoling?
Nurturing.
Nurturing, yeah.
Are you going to just show the threat, and that's enough to, you know, calm things down? Maybe that's enough. I think a lot of civilizations have discovered that just the threat of their military is enough to keep things within the order that they specify, but it is order.
And wouldn't it be interesting if we saw the chariot more often show up when people need help instead of to overtake. If the Chariot were to show up and bring more people with them, the charioteer, she might be more likely to have more people show up with her.
Like a little busload, a little cartload that she's
Like a
dragging
busload.
behind.
It's
Yeah.
it's the help.
Yes, that's just as much a woman as a man, as a masculine
Well,
or feminine. You know,
I mean, to our modern eyes, okay, because it's dressed in Renaissance costumes, we tend to see the male costuming or dressing of the Renaissance as being, if anybody dressed like that now, they would absolutely be
Yes.
considered feminine, okay, no matter their actual gender. So I think that that's an artifact of modern culture, Western culture.
Time period, culture. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
it's we can look at it that way, but if we do, that is an artifact of our cultural eyeglasses, our cultural worldview. It's not written into it's not drawn, it's not in the card itself. And that's why I'm saying, what would it look like if the charioteer were a woman?
Yeah, you're clearly a woman. Yeah.
I'm not female. I'm just drawn that way.
Jessica Rabbit. Yeah.
I love that. I love the idea of, this is we're talking about assertiveness, influence through physical strength or intellectual persuasion. I like the idea of this duality is sometimes justice can have a physical strength about them.
Absolutely.
As can the Chariot have an intellectual persuasion about them. This is again, it goes back to the idea that Maru had. There's duality in all of the cards, the individual cards, which as a reader, when we recognize those opportunities, it gives us a chance to have more satisfying and engaging readings that challenge us. I like to be challenged by readings.
Yeah.
I don't know about all of you.
There's an element also of, the Chariot is fighting, right? That's what we're sort of talking about here. It's a physical fight. But you can define fight in a lot of different ways. You can fight just by speaking up for yourself. Like I had a situation once where I was on a business trip and I needed a car with a navigation, and it was in Florida, and it was like 8:00 at night, and they gave me the rental car, and I went out to go pick it up, and it was pouring down rain, and I couldn't find the rental car, and I finally got in there, and it didn't have a navigation system. So I needed it because I was traveling all over this state that I wasn't familiar with. So I went back in, and I got back in the long line, and I got all the way up to the front and said, the car you gave me doesn't have a navigation system. And they're like, oh, that's right. We're sorry. Here's a car with a navigation system. And I went out in the pouring rain again, had a hard time finding the car, got in the car, no navigation system. So here's the Chariot moment, right? I went back in. There's like 20 people in line. I just walked right up to the front of the line, soaking wet, and said, excuse me, but I've been in this line twice. I need to resolve this problem with the front desk. And then the front desk gave me a car with a navigation system for sure that time, that third time. And that's the Chariot, I think, and I didn't punch anybody. I didn't scream or yell at anybody, but I walked right up to the front of the line, and the person in the front of the line was offended. And I said, I'm sorry, but I've been soaking wet. I've been out there twice. They've screwed it up, and I need to get this car because I need to get to sleep. I need to drive an hour. And that's not punching somebody in the face. That's not stabbing somebody with a sword, but it is standing up for yourself. And I think that's the symbol of the Chariot,
Yeah.
Linda, what were you going to say?
Just that it was assertion, just that the self-assertion. Maybe that's what the Chariot really means, is about asserting yourself.
Yes, it's a symbol. It's not
to the
literal.
you know, and it doesn't have to be with a baseball bat. It can just be saying, no, I don't want to. Setting boundaries.
Ah.
Yeah. And, you know, I could have said, I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you, and like go the intellectual route, but that wouldn't have helped me in that moment in time. You know, going up there and
You need
asserting
the card.
myself and saying, I need this fixed now. I'm sorry that I'm inconvenient to the rest of the people in line, but I'm soaked. I've been out there twice. I need this fixed. And that's the Chariot.
Yes.
And I could have chosen not to do that, and I would have stood in line a third time, and they might have given me another bad card. You know, that's kind of how life works when you don't assert yourself at all. Either one.
Yeah.
I like that word boundaries.
Yeah.
Boundaries works beautifully with both of these cards.
Yes, it does, doesn't it? I think that it's the foundation of the. It's just all falling into place in my head. I got fireworks going off here. I know I'm being very.
The RWS does add that idea of boundaries because behind the Chariot you see the wall.
Whoa!
Oh, in the RWS,
I have them here on the table. You want to see the RWS?
Yeah.
If you want to show
us your deck, Timmy.
My big deck. Here it comes. Boom.
Big deck. I'm gonna embiggen him. There you go.
Yes, that's right. Look at that wall behind the Chariot. Holy, you're absolutely. I'd forgot, and the city behind it. So that gives the impression of even more of boundary and setting limits. And you won't go any farther than here because I'm here protecting.
I never noticed that. It's like the fortress. There's like a fortress element.
Yeah, it's a whole city back there. Huh. Okay, so boundaries it is then.
Will you show us?
Thing I wanted to say about using the Chariot. It can be used for war, but it can also be used to travel your own kingdom and see your own people.
Yeah, and connect with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a show of strength. You know,
yeah.
Like we're prepared. We're prepared for the worst.
Way.
I'll protect you. You'll be safe. I'll protect you. I'll look after you. I love that.
Yes. I also think the idea of the Chariot, again, moving outside of the kingdom, outside of those walls.
Yeah.
It can provide messages.
Yeah.
Convey thoughts, opportunities.
Yeah.
Which could be very helpful. Timmy, will you show the Justice card?
See, now there's a boundary too. Look at what's behind. Look at what's behind Justice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the inner chamber where they deliberate.
Who's they? Okay.
This seems institutional to me, you know, like a cultural institution, you know, a marble building that was built at great expense to, you know, celebrate the fact that we can settle our differences with intellectual activity rather than physical fighting.
Combat.
Yeah,
Trial by combat.
And this is the spiritual card. I think this is, you know, spiritual intellect, truth and justice and fairness is what this card embodies.
Pamela said that Justice looks very high priestess.
It does have a lot of the same elements in it.
Yeah. And I mean, there is
the expressive version. This is the expressive version rather than the receptive version.
Internal version. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No. But okay. So I don't read that card as particularly feminine or masculine. I see that there are hints in the way she's drawn. Sorry for making that joke. In the way it's drawn, I can infer that it's meant to be feminine. However, there is a lot within the image that contradicts that. There's the so there's the square posture, there's the sword, there's the crown.
This looks masculine to me.
Yeah.
Holding that sword so effortlessly is sort of a masculine flex.
Yeah, you gotta have the biceps for that shit, man. And the core muscles. But yeah, there's a few bumps on it that sort of could hint at femininity, but I see that as a very androgynous figure,
Mm-hmm.
very indeterminate.
Can we read what River Mistface said?
Yes. Since we're talking about femme masculine, there's something to be said about the way in which each asserting themselves is perceived, both positive
Yes.
and negative. Yes, River, you are correct. I agree with that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Male assertiveness is seen as something to be admired and emulated. Female assertiveness is often seen as something negative and unpleasant.
Like a pain in the ass.
Yeah, nagging. Nagging.
Yep.
The angry female.
Yeah.
The Karen.
Yeah.
And let's flip that. If a assertive female is perceived as a positive thing,
Oh no,
and
not
an
at all.
assertive male is considered overbearing, imagine how that would flip as we're flipping the feminine and masculine roles.
Mm-hmm.
Pamela did say, in front of the veil, very swords, very conscious.
Oh,
Yes.
I didn't say it this time.
Yes.
Wasn't me, not my lips, not my fingers. Nope, nope, no.
It's accurate.
It is absolutely 1,000,000% accurate.
It is accurate, which is, I like the idea of thinking about boundaries. Perhaps justice is taking a moment and figuring out our boundaries, also our responsibilities. Is it my responsibility to go out there and solve this? If so, how can I help the people solve it rather than solving it for them? It's teaching them to think. It's a very swords moment, and it's a very conscious moment.
Yeah.
Okay. That
Very
just clicked for me. The swords mental.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And in front of the veil, and absolutely conscious thinking. There's nothing unconscious about this at all.
Sometimes that in a group, you need to have a consensus of the group, or you need to have a discussion. Perhaps we are exemplifying what justice could look like. People are here because they have different opinions. All of the opinions need to be heard. Once everybody hears them, we have new information to allow us to assert for our assertiveness.
I like the fact that boundaries came up as part of this duality pair. I think that's an important aspect of it. I've never really thought of that, but I think both cards illustrate boundaries, a line to not be crossed, and that's when assertiveness kicks in, both intellectually and physically.
I want to acknowledge what Pamela said. I've been horrified how you got silenced, Linda, because of using the word patriarchy. I've been very upset about it. I'm sorry. That is not my intent.
No, I know it was never your intent, but it's something. And thank you, Pamela. You're making me weepy. But thank you. The thing is that it's just.
It reminds me of Fight Club. The first rule of patriarchy is you don't talk about the patriarchy.
Oh, thank you, Maru. Yes, that's it. We don't talk about it. And the thing is that we don't. I'm the kind of feminist who loves men and wants men to be healed along with the rest of us. Okay, I don't hate them. I don't think we'd be better off without him. Although there isn't a man in my life right now, because right now I am better off without one. But that's got nothing to do with the patriarchy. But it's so damaging to us.
It is.
It damages us all. It damages our economics, for crying out loud. I mean, patriarchy and capitalism,
Mm-hmm.
it really, really hurts us,
It does.
all of us.
It's an example of imbalance,
Exactly.
being
Yeah.
a path of unsuccess.
Can we
You know-
not? Can we not be partners? Can we not respect each other? Can we not support each other and hold each other up? Like, why is there? Why? Well, I know why, and you all know why too. So I'll just shut up about that. But you know, and feminism absolutely is about equality.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, it's about equality.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the point is to be balanced with both rather than swinging from one extreme to the other extreme. That would be bad in different ways.
Yeah.
You know, it would absolutely be bad in different ways. It needs to be balanced in between. You know, if we talk about, you know, something like the society that we have in America, I know that 3 of us are from America. You know, it would behoove us for our government system to have balance in it. And, you know, as you mentioned the word patriarchy, it's very patriarchal, the current American government.
And
that leads to
patriarchy. It's an old white man Christian patriarchy. Okay.
Yes.
We don't hate
Yeah,
men.
and
We
it-
just
and it-
don't want
and
to
it
be hated
benefits-
by men.
and it
So-
benefits that group, you know,
We don't
because
hate
they're in
men. We
charge.
just don't want to be hated by men.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Louder for the people in the back, please. We don't hate men. We just don't want to be hated by men.
Yes. It's like what Pamela says. It's hard to have the words to convey our thoughts. Patriarchy has so negatively affected all of us. The great lie is that feminists hate men.
Yeah.
What a lie.
It is absolutely a gigantic, enormous lie.
It all comes down to balance.
Yes, that's the lesson
Yeah.
that the entire duality interpretation is trying to explain to us. It's balance is the successful path.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I will say, as a host of this, and Linda and I work together, you say whatever you want to say, dear. I will not make fun of it. I will be very, very respectful.
You can
forward.
Listen, I tell you what, you can make as much fun of me as you like, but please don't do it about patriarchy, okay?
I will not do that. I
Because
promise.
it hurts us so much as individuals and as a society. It cripples our creativity, our ability to relate to each other. I mean, we're so grinched because of it, you know, misshapen.
Disrespected. How can you have abundance?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoops.
All true.
All very true. Pamela, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
appreciate that. Thank you. I hope I am
Thank you so
able
much.
to make appropriate adjustments moving forward, because that's what I want to do. That's why we have these conversations, people. We need to be having these conversations regularly. We need to normalize having these conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Isolation does nobody any good.
And the thing is it's important to model good behavior, right?
Yes.
It's important to model what a non-patriarchal relationship might look like, where we can't remove ourselves entirely because we live in a society. I get that. I'm pretty idealistic, but I'm not completely naive. But I think it's important that we model respectful, egalitarian relationships.
If you destroy females, how are you going to have any more people?
Thank you.
True.
Wanda had something to say about that.
Pamela has added, just because it's called the patriarchy doesn't mean It's a critique on men. It's a critique on the society that defines and denies
Yeah.
who we really are as human beings.
100%. Absolutely.
Amen. Yes. That's perfect.
Yeah. Nobody complains about the word oligarchy.
Probably because most people don't know what that means.
I bet the oligarchs do.
I think the oligarchs are all men,
They are actually.
generally speaking. It's just a different word for the same thing.
I know. That's why I brought it up. You don't get to be an oligarch without the patriarchy, okay? Because that's the kind of inequality. The economic inequality is what the patriarchy encourages. It encourages this hierarchical ordering of society that bears no relationship to people's actual contribution.
Well, if you force women to be completely dependent on men, then they have to stay in those relationships no matter how much disrespect they suffer.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I think is an interesting thing. This is about assertiveness, this duality pair. This pair with the Chariot and Justice.
I see where you're going.
Where am I going, Linda?
Oh, I sorry.
No, say it.
So this is like a microcosm or a distillation, a symbolic representation. That's what I'm looking for. It's a symbolic representation of. So what happened? What happened when women started asserting themselves chariotically and using justice? Okay, Roe v. Wade, all the other, like finally being able to have bank accounts in your own name, being able to buy a house in your own name. What happened when women began asserting themselves like that? Big backlash, right?
Of course, yes. Mm-hmm.
You had to protest in the street in order to get the vote in the turn of the century.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Had to
And now
I think
they're
women were like cutting off their husbands because they didn't have the vote and they wanted the vote. I mean, they had to.
Lysistrata is
They had to-
Lysistrata is a 2,000-year-old play that is about that very thing.
Yep, I read that one in college.
They're trying to subjugate women's votes into their partners, their male partners.
Yeah, the head of the household gets to vote. He'll vote for you, honey. Don't you worry your pretty little head about anything like that.
Yeah. Well, you see, Lysistrata, Roe v. Wade, it's been happening for millennia. It's been a struggle for a long time. I would, I was thinking a day or two ago that we all have dissatisfactions with our modern society, but in many ways, our modern society is far preferable to the way it was 500 years ago.
Well, we've got medical care for one thing.
Things were far more brutal, and the patriarchy, was way more dominant back then. So nothing's perfect now, but I think we have been making progress, spiritual progress. It's slowly but surely.
There was a lot of progress made, but it's going backwards now.
Yes, Maru.
Yep, the pendulum's swinging, and that's the constant struggle. I think we're in the middle of it.
This is where the Chariot comes in to set the boundaries, to use justice to force institutional change, like on a bigger scale. But the boundary is set by the charioteer, who stands in front of her domain or their domain, okay, who stands in front of their domain ready to protect and defend it.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion is, with this current political situation, is that when all the failure is done and it's obvious that it was a gigantic failure, my hope is that our society will rebuild itself better than it was before. And it's that incremental sort of forward movement that brings us closer to spiritual enlightenment.
We have to hold that vision. All of us have to hold that vision, because that's what will manifest the reality of it. Okay.
Yes.
We have
manifest balance.
Yeah.
We have to use our assertiveness in both of these ways to make that happen.
Yeah.
No one is saying that a matriarchy is going to be the solution.
No.
It is not. A balance is what is necessary.
Yes.
There should be a co-presidency, a male and a female.
What'd you say, Maru?
Both points of view are valid, and you have to find the balance point that benefits the most people.
Correct.
The
Correct.
bird of humanity doesn't fly unless the wings of male and female are balanced.
Correct.
We just don't go anywhere.
And the duality of assertiveness can show us this symbolically, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to read those cards really very differently now.
Oh, I am too.
Very
River
differently.
said, fun little additional tidbit. Pluto is in Aquarius again, the same house it was in during the French and American revolutions. Make of that what you will.
Yeah, astrologers have been talking about that for a while now.
We can manifest our own future. We're not tied to things that happened in the past. That would be my.
We have to be willing to take movement, use the appropriate assertiveness so that we get where we want to go. That's all the whole conversation about these with the duality and the pairs. It is about balance.
Yeah.
Our receptive energy can work out what needs to be done, and our expressive energy can implement it. And it can be done in a logical, civilized way. That's a spiritual path.
Mm-hmm.
We can manifest what we want. That's the way the real world works. But you got to work for it.
Gotta get in that chariot. Go to work every day.
Yeah. The chariot sucks. It has no suspension. It's real jarring, like bust your ass.
And goddamn those cats, they can't pull worth shit.
They weren't a good choice. They should have been horses, but cats are cooler.
And that is justice.
Especially cats with boobs.
Yeah, that's what I like.
On that note, I'm going to say thank you for joining Laugh and Learn for another journey into the Marseille Tarot. A big thanks to Timy, Linda, and Maru, and all of you in the chat who keep the conversation thoughtful, respectful, and full of insight. Remember, every voice adds to the wisdom we build together. Like, subscribe, and share this episode if it sparked something for you. The replay and podcast are linked below. Until next time, keep curious, stay exploring, and keep laughter lifting. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
See you later.